People in the valley used to laugh at him, not because he was cruel, not because he was strange, but because, to them, he looked useless. While others rushed through life like they were being chased, he moved slowly. While others argued, he listened. While others fought the world, he seemed to let the world pass through him. His name was Shen, and the villagers called him the man who did nothing.
Mist lay low on the river, like a thought you couldn't swallow. Reeds bent and rose in slow rhythm. Shen sat on his usual flat stone, robe hem damp, watching the current fold around small rocks without complaint. That morning, Wei did not come. Instead, footsteps arrived that didn't belong to the village. Measured, polished, the sound of a man used to corridors. A stranger stopped behind Shen. He did not speak at first. He stood and watched the river too, as if hoping the water might answer before he had to. His robe was clean. His hands were clean. His eyes were not. They looked used. Finally, the man exhaled. "You are Shen," he said. Shen didn't turn. The man continued anyway, as if he had been waiting too long for a mouth that would listen. "I came from the capital," he said. "I heard you solve things." He laughed once without humor. "In the capital, I solve things too. Numbers, wars, policies, men's ambitions." He paused. "And yet, I can't solve myself." Shen's gaze stayed on the river. The stranger took that as permission. His words began to spill. "People call me clever. They say I have a sharp mind. They say I can predict moves before they happen." His voice hardened, and I am tired. Not tired from work, tired from being a mind that never stops moving. He swallowed. "In the capital, peace is considered weakness. Silence is treated like a gap an enemy can enter. Even rest has rules." He looked at Shen's stillness like a starving man looking at water. "So tell me," he said quickly, "how do I find peace? How do I find motivation again? How do I know what my life is for?" Shen listened, not approving, not rejecting, just listening, like the river listens to falling leaves. The stranger kept asking, "What is the purpose of existence? How do you stop fear? How do you stop regret? How do you stop the mind from biting itself?" His voice rose without noticing. "And what is the self? Where is it? How do I strengthen it?" Shen finally moved. Not much. He picked up a small petal and rolled it between two fingers. Then he asked softly, "Who are you?" The stranger blinked, relieved. A simple question. He could answer simple questions. "I am Liu Yang from the capital, advisor to generals, planner of campaigns." Shen's fingers kept rolling the pebble. "That is your profession," Shen said. "Who are you?" The stranger's mouth opened, then closed. He frowned slightly, as if correcting a student. "I am Liu Yang, my name." Shen nodded once. "That is your label," Shen said. "Who are you?" A faint irritation sparked in the man's eyes. He tried to keep his voice polite. "I am a human being," he said, as if that should end it. Shen's tone didn't change. "That is your species," he said. "Who are you?" The stranger stared at Shen's back. The river moved. The reeds breathed. Something in the man's chest tightened. He tried again, sharper. "I am a loyal servant of the emperor. I am a son. I am a husband. I am a man who wants to improve the world." Shen didn't turn. "Those are roles," he said. "Who are you?" The stranger's jaw tightened. He looked down at his own hands. They were steady, but he could feel the trembling underneath, like a table that looks stable until you touch it. He tried one more time, slower, more honest. I am someone who is exhausted. I am someone who wants peace. I am someone who doesn't know why he wakes up and keeps doing this. Shen's voice stayed quiet. Those are feelings, he said. Who are you? Silence landed. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that shows you a hollow room you've been avoiding. The stranger's throat moved. He realized something humiliating. Every answer he gave was something other people could take away. Job, name, rank, praise, even human. All removable. He stared at the river as if it had betrayed him. Then the truth slipped out. "All right," he said, voice rough. "All right." He exhaled like surrender. "It appears I don't know who I am." Shen didn't smile. He simply placed the pebble back on the stone beside him. "That," Shen said, "is the first honest thing you have said today." The stranger swallowed. His pride tried to stand back up. "So what now?" he asked. "Am I supposed to find an answer? Is this a riddle?" Shen finally turned his head slightly, not fully, just enough for the man to see one eye. Calm, not impressed. "You came here asking for peace," Shen said, "but you brought an army of answers." The man frowned. Shen pointed at the man's chest with 2 fingers, not touching. "Every answer you gave," Shen said, "was a uniform, a badge, a cage you learned to call identity." The man's eyes narrowed, wounded. "And if I remove those?" he asked. "What remains?" Shen looked back to the river. "Look," he said. The man followed his gaze. A leaf drifted into a small eddy. It circled once, twice, then slipped out and continued downstream. Shen spoke as if describing nothing important. "The leaf is not trying to become the river," he said. "It is not trying to become a stone. It is not trying to prove it is a leaf." The stranger's face tightened. "That's poetry," he said. "I need something practical." Shen nodded once. "Good," he said. "Then do one practical thing." He reached for the man's sleeve. Not harshly, just like adjusting a fold. He tugged the cloth slightly. "Sit," Shen said. The man hesitated. A capital man doesn't sit on wet stones. A capital man doesn't sit lower than anyone. Then he noticed his own hesitation, and that made him angrier than the stone ever could. He sat. The cold seeped through fabric immediately. He flinched. Shen didn't comment. The stranger tried to speak again. Habit. But Shen raised one finger. Not a command, a boundary. "Before you ask another question," Shen said, "sit here until you feel the itch to prove something, and do not scratch it." The man stared. "What?" Shen's voice stayed calm. "You've been trained to answer," Shen said, "to defend, to perform." He pointed at the man's mouth. "Your mouth is a soldier," he said, "always marching." The man's cheeks warmed. He wanted to argue. He wanted to explain how wrong that was. Then he caught himself. The itch, the scratch. He shut his mouth. They sat. The river moved. A bird called once, then went quiet. Minutes passed. The man's mind kept lunging for something to hold, a title, a reason, a sentence to win. Each time it lunged, it found nothing to grab, only air. His breathing slowed unwillingly. His shoulders lowered a fraction. Not peace, but less war. After a long while, Shen spoke again. "Now," Shen said, "ask your question." The man's throat moved. He expected to feel clever again. He didn't. His voice came out smaller. "If I don't know who I am," he asked, "how can I live? How can I decide anything?" Shen answered without comfort. "You've been living on borrowed names," he said. "That's why you are tired."
The man stared at the water. Then Shen added, softer, "Stop trying to find a grand identity," Shen said. "Start by noticing what you are before you speak." The man frowned. "And what am I?" Shen didn't look at him. He listened to the river as if it was speaking. Then he said, "Right now, you are a man sitting on a stone, breathing, not performing." The stranger's eyes stung slightly. Not tears, something else. Relief mixed with shame, because it was so small and so real. Shen stood. He picked up his clay cup and rinsed it again, as if sealing the moment. The man stayed seated, hands resting on his knees, staring at the river like he had never truly seen it. Shen's final line came quiet, but it stayed. "If you need a name to exist," Shen said, "you will never be free."
Shen pointed to the water. "Go in," he said. The strategist blinked. "I didn't come to bathe," he said. Shen's eyes didn't move. "You came looking for who you are," Shen said. "Go in." The strategist gave a short, bitter laugh. "This is childish." Shen nodded once. "Yes," he said, "and you are proud." Silence. The strategist stepped into the river. Cold seized his calves, then his knees, then his waist. He hissed through his teeth, pretending not to. He kept going because he couldn't bear to stop. When the water reached his chest, his breath changed. Shen spoke from the bank, calm as stone. "Until your neck," Shen said. The strategist stared at him. "You want to drown me?" Shen shook his head. "I want you to stop floating above yourself." The strategist went one step deeper. Water rose to his collarbones. His heart hammered. His pride tried to stand taller. The river didn't care. Shen's voice came again, quiet, exact. "Now," Shen said, "hold your breath." The strategist inhaled sharply. "Dip under," Shen said. "Just once." The strategist's eyes narrowed. He wanted to argue, but his curiosity was louder than his ego. He took a breath. He sank. For a moment, the world vanished. No village, no titles, no questions. Only pressure, only dark, only the roar inside his own skull. He rose, gasping. Water streamed from his hair and face. His chest heaved like a bellows. Shen didn't ask if he was okay. He only asked, "Can a man bathe twice in the same river?" The strategist blinked hard. He knew the line. He hated that he knew it. He forced a thin smile. "Yes," he said. Shen didn't react. The strategist lifted his chin as if the river was a courtroom. "Yes," he repeated, "he can." He spread his wet hands. "This is the same river. The same bend, the same banks, the same stones." He jerked his head toward the shore. "The village hasn't moved. The mountain hasn't moved." He glanced down at the current like he could command it with logic. "A handful of water passes," he said. "So what? A man returns. The river remains." He looked at Shen, satisfied. "Names matter," he said. "Place matters. This is still this river." Shen nodded once. Not agreement. Permission. He pointed at the strategist's chest. "Then bathe again. Now." The strategist hesitated, just a breath. Then he dipped under a second time. When he surfaced, his gasp was harsher, not because the water was colder, because his body had learned what his mouth denied. Shen spoke softly. "Same river?" The strategist wanted to say yes, but his teeth were chattering. His lungs burned differently. His heart had changed its rhythm. He felt it. Shen waited until the strategist stopped pretending. Then Shen pointed at the water. "The river is not a place," Shen said. "It is a happening." He pointed at the strategist. "And you are not a thing," he said. "You are a happening too." The strategist's face tightened. Shen continued, quiet, surgical. "The first time you went under," Shen said, "the water that touched your lips is already downstream." He pointed at the surface. "This river is not one body," he said. It is 10,000 bodies passing. He pointed at the strategist's dripping hair. And you are not the same. The breath you held the first time is gone. The fear you tasted the first time is gone. The man who said, yes, it's the same, is already downstream too. The strategist's eyes narrowed. Shen's voice stayed calm. You are trying to own a moving thing with a name. He tapped the water with a reed. Call it river if you want, Shen said, but don't confuse a label with a reality. He lifted his gaze. Same river? Shen asked. A pause. Then softer. Only if you need something to stay still. The strategist swallowed, water at his neck, pride slipping. Shen's voice stayed even. You came to find what you call self, as if the answer is a statue, Shen said. He gestured at the flowing water. But you are a river. The strategist's mouth opened. No clean argument came out. Shen's final line came soft. If you insist on being a thing, life will keep drowning you to prove you're not. Shen didn't make the strategist bathe. He made him fail at the oldest lie in the human mind, that there is a solid me inside experience. The strategist said, it's the same river, because the banks are in the same place, because the name is the same. But the river is not the name. The river is not the banks. The river is the passing. The water that touched his face is already gone. The current that held his breath is already downstream. And the same is true for him. His body is not a statue. In every moment, cells die and cells are replaced. Heat shifts, breath shifts, chemistry shifts. Even stone changes, even metal changes. Time corrodes everything. So what is a self? And if the river feels too abstract, look at a candle. 5 minutes ago, it stood taller. The flame was higher. The wax was unbroken. 5 minutes later, it is shorter. The wax has melted and traveled. The air around it is warmer. The wick has turned to ash. Is it the same candle? We say yes because we keep the name, because we recognize the shape, because it's still sitting in the same place. But what you are pointing at is not a thing. It is a process. A candle is wax becoming heat. A candle is time becoming smoke. A candle is fuel turning into light, then disappearing. And a human life is the same kind of burning. Breath by breath, cell by cell, thought by thought. If you insist the candle must stay tall, you will call every moment a loss. If you accept what it is, burning, then you stop arguing with time. So no, it is not the same candle, and you are not the same person you were 5 minutes ago. The only question is, will you spend the next 5 minutes fighting the melting or using the light?
Hello, I'm Shen. This story came to my mind while walking in nature near my home. Can you hear the birds singing, the soft breeze, the spring water flowing? These are the sounds of true silence. Can you see the sunlight after a long winter, the young green leaves returning to the old trees? Life is wonderfully simple. I have been to many capitals in many countries, but my heart always returns to the countryside. Thank you for walking with me today.